Stop walking. Stare at walls. See blackboard paint. The stark new skin of barely dry mat across brick lanes, crumbling masonry. Old streets' oldness. East itself. This once was once and soon to be city of slow birthing breeze block girder skeletons, somehow already third owned. Bullied out, boarded up are Sam's leather shoes and handbags. All these regal homes. All slap lacquered from the bin-filling tins of Rustin's Limited one-coat, hard-wearing, non-reflective wonder stuff. Then clock thousands of scattered chalk sticks. Brittle invites to share, sing out, tattoo or just swear. To look, just look, then pick up and write. The second one, I love maps almost as much as I love dictionaries. And one of my favourite things is kind of going on the Google Maps satellite view. And really kind of interesting in graffiti that I have, one of the things that's really fascinating about London from Google's satellite view is that lots of the city kind of reappears as canvases, as spaces for potential work, which becomes even more interesting when you consider the fact that Google sometimes, as well as using satellite images from space, sometimes flies planes over cities. They've not done it in London before, but they've done it in Australia and some other places. So they'll fly a plane over the city to capture images that gives you that kind of like extra level of zoom. So this poem imagines, if you knew when that was, if you knew when Google's plane was going to come over London. And it's called lucubration, which is a lovely word meaning, it originally means kind of labouring at night by artificial light. It was kind of taken up in 19th, 20th century by writers kind of working by candlelight. And most graffiti artists kind of refer to themselves as writers. So, lucubration. I didn't mention it's set on a gasometer, so the big gasometer on the Hackney Tower Hamlets border, the kind of huge things, but yeah. The 60-metre circumference dome is an industrious patchwork of zinc sheets, stitched together by thousands of steel bolts, visible heads as big as golf balls, planetary seams as neat writing guides, the surface trembling like a placid sea, balloon stiff, owl-faced, McCaptain in the air, Google's plane is 5 hours from cruising through. Stooped, knuckle-numbed, you dip, roll, dip, needing but 2 to finish before the sun tiptoes above the building-fringed horizon and sets the clearly forecasted city glimmering with the slant light, depth, shadows and texture craved by this most modern crow. As it's mentioned in my bio, I did a couple of years working full-time for a big advertising agency. It feels like a long time ago. And aside from severe liver damage, one of the things I came away with was this stack of notebooks that for years have been propping up my wardrobe. There's about 6 or 7 of them, and they just have literally been kind of holding up my wardrobe. And I explored them recently and just looked through a kind of, it feels like a kind of distant past moment in my life. And they're full of just this kind of absolute gibberish and this nonsense that I'm sure at the time was really important and had meaning. So I thought, what better to do with the gibberish and nonsense than turn it into poems. This one is a first in a series, silly title. Starchy, Compositions in Black and Red, #1, on ecopoiesis. Research told us about the basics of adulthood. Tri-decade transitioning is something hard to accept. Childhood dreams are dashed. Achieving autonomy is not linear as hoped. We are not special, but soft drinks are well placed to deliver moments of self-actualization. We called the solution grown-up innocence and proved it using a 2-minute mood film, Home Alone, Trigger Happy, Shrek's donkey snorting cocaine, followed by storyboards. We explained that the fridge would have only eggs, milk, juice, and it would be more fridge than the fridge in the drawings. Smeg, without being smeg. There were rushes and rush cuts, and we elevated the dramatic tone. Early CGI was circulated against our strict wishes. There was a meeting to explain why we had to be trusted. Weekly WIP meetups became daily FTP downloads. The sign at the start was made to suggest, I want nothing more than to go there. The one towards the end, I'm thankful for having avoided so many deaths. We were too far down the line to zoom into the personality of the fruit. A time frame is constructed around David Bellamy. Concerns his delivery lacked clarity dissipated as less words became more filmic, more powerful. The pack shot was pearlized. The splat icon took weeks to be satisfactorily rendered. There were sunbursts. There were lens flare. There were fingers of God, and we made them punchier. They were brand properties. It's really interesting hearing Tom talking about islands. I'm fascinated by islands, and particularly the character of Robinson. So Robinson Crusoe first appeared in Defoe's Robinson Crusoe book, but since then Robinson as a character has appeared in this astonishing number of different places. So Louis Ferdinand Céline, in Marx, I'm not going to remember any of these now, in Kafka, in the poems of Weldon Keys, in the films of Patrick Kyler. And it's all the same Robinson. It's Robinson Crusoe, but morphed and evolved and changed all throughout history. And it's fascinating. So this is based on a kind of slightly manic moment I had at university where I tore apart every book I had. I got really annoyed with covers. Yeah, it's a dark time. I've got a long sequence of poems trying to kind of make sense of this and basically blaming Robinson for it. It's a non-existing character. And this is just the first and the last two from that sequence. Your survey of Robinson's books begins. The first are sort of paperback, pixelated video grabs with sparse textual captions and a thin card cover I tear off by folding out, pinching together and pulling swiftly down the spine, like tearing the wings off a bird, he said as he showed me once. There's a seam of sand, 1 grain thick along the glue edge. Some summers ago pirate utopia we must have shared. The routine settles like a cure. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. I learned to move from title page, Cape, to copyright contents and acknowledgements, Fund and Sarah, to quotation, S. Johnson, to what I can't help but think of as the manuscripts, all in a matter of seconds. There are moments, tears smudged away by spittle-stinking things and thumbs, of glory, shame, indescribable fear. 2. After his funeral, the survey ends. And I dream each night of a wooden floor on which I spread out every last page ever written by this him. Poetry, fiction, essays, reviews of others' work, as if there'd be some way of being tied and winched above it all, to see what holds it all together, through what height affords. Like when you write or read, look down at what can be seen of yourself, pretending to understand what it is to be thought of, through your hand. Then the sad dawning, I'd need to photocopy each sheet's backside, double the range of that hook-tethered glide. Yeah. And the last one from that sequence. In Solitaria, Robinson Eyre. Now, giving up on ever getting around to reordering those drunkenly spilt and shuffled and ever decaying mounds, I start to think it's him that's made me do it. Some hooligan doppelganger, heretic Christ, a heartbreaker, home wrecker, virus or glitch, yanking my fingers, riding me Malkovich, as I pick at nubs of cuts and scars, rubbered skin stained black by all I've had to do to work out how these books were once ours, as they whisper and crackle up the flue. Okay. So that's very dramatic. Okay, it's my last one, so I'll be relieved to see. So this one's based on some kind of intense research I was doing at the kind of cold face of ontological inquiry in the world at the moment, YouTube. And I found this brilliant YouTube clip of a Premiership footballer at the press launch of his Madame Tussauds lookalike. It's astonishing. It's 40 seconds of powerful stuff. It's called The Day Stephen Gerrard Met Himself. He circles once, twice, forgets for a second the Damoclean injunctions, but barely dares take his eyes off his unmoving eyes. Even round the back, marking himself, he tries to bore through that crew-cut alter ego skull, knowing they're still there, seeing something he's not. He turns on the swagger, offers some bon mot about them missing a spot as he mimics the hand-hipped pose for the ranked paparazzi. But that tremor's there, behind the glassy stare he can't quite pull off, a middle distance he can't help bunging back from, back to this other self, the mirror in wax he just wants time alone with, to gaze across his mind's hall, listen for that other voice. Pause. Scroll back. Watch again, and give thanks they'll never carve out poets like this. The page is the pitch of our performance, the place we learn these other ways of finding who we might be and what we're trying to do in someone we aren't, a thing that we can't. And it's sat there, bung on, a crowd of one, that will sometimes find our Jumbotron moment, a chance to catch yourself, seeing yourself. A brave few choose to hunt out and glare down those red-lit cameras, fingers V'd, brows arched, they yell "Here I am's" for YouTube posterity. But for most it's a fleeting grace, the act of glimpsing chopped up, ether-beamed, and broadcast on the far side of the field to face you for a second or two, before something else is deemed worthy of a viewer's eyes, a pigeon perched on the goalpost, say. But that's fine by us. Match of the Day's got nothing on our journals, local readings, kind words from strangers, the odd prize. Thank you.